Okay, so lesson day. So today I always got a story to tell. So today I wanted to talk about what happened yesterday. So yesterday we finally got Dylan's aide, yay! And he stayed. He stuck. He was hired. We hired Dylan's aide yesterday for the during the week. Good guy, I the kids like him. The kids like him. He's very helpful, very respectful, very calm, which Dylan definitely needs, and I definitely need myself. So it was refreshing. I can't sit still. It was refreshing. It was refreshing to not have to fight. It was refreshing to not have to be like, what the fuck is this? It was very refreshing. Shout out to my coordinator, Hannah. She did her best to find a person that I would would want to be there. He told me, she was like, because he came 10 minutes early. He came 10 minutes early. I hope I'm not jinxing this shit, but he came 10 minutes early, and he called me, and I was like, because I wasn't ready. I wasn't ready. I was ready to be for him to be there at 7. So I had something left to do. So I was just like, okay, so I made him wait until 7, and then I opened the door and let him in and stuff. But it was so funny because I was like, oh yeah, you were early. That's really good. He was just like, he goes, yeah, they told me not to be late. And I was like, damn right. I was like, damn right, they told you not to be late. So I was excited. So hopefully he comes back on Monday and everything is great. If not, I'll be like, what the fuck? You're gonna see me on here going, what the fuck? This is ridiculous. But I always, and I can say always, I always want everyone who are my students, who learn from me, who watch me. I want you to understand there's a there's a there's a okay point to what we're going through. It's not You're not supposed to be going through this forever. You're not supposed to be going through yelling at people, getting people organized. It's not going to be forever. It's not going to be forever. It's at some point the shit has to merge. Like at some point it has to go in the direction and manifest what you've been working towards this entire time. You understand? So I want to get on here and not just sit here and complain about when things don't go right, but once we fought the battle to have it go right, like, okay, whew, this is the end result. This is the result, and I hope to be talking more about the good parts than the growing pains of things, because at some point you're grown and you don't have those growing pains anymore. Granted, you have grown people issues. So we'll talk about that too. But anyway, so for this video I'm talking about, I wrote it down. So this video we're talking about how bad moments, right, or days, doesn't mean meaning your kids, meaning your spouse, meaning anyone, your boyfriend, girlfriend, anyone in any circumstance. It doesn't mean they don't do it on a normal basis. And I preface this by talking about the aid that came in yesterday, that started yesterday, right? There was a reason for that, because that download I learned yesterday, but I was too exhausted and too triumphant to actually post. So that's what we're doing today. So I sat there. All I had to do was open a door, interview him, and let him in. No, no. Let him in and then interview him. So yeah, I don't think I'm interviewing people at the door. But no, he came in, I interviewed him. I felt his energy. I watched how when Jaeden was telling him stuff, how what was going on. So I sat back. That was it. Once I said, okay, good, all right. And I asked him, did you clock in? He says, yes, I clocked in. And I'm like, good, because I told the other girl to clock out. So I was like, good. So I looked at Jaeden and I was just like, all right, teach him, and I I and the spirits and energy around me were so impressed with how Jaeden, not my son, but Jaeden handled that situation. I was not, as a mom, I was so proud. I was so proud of him. I was so astonished with how he conveyed how things were done. He conveyed how Dylan behaves with certain things. He explained, I sat, because I'm not leaving no new person alone with my children. So I sat there the entire day up until a point I was just sitting there not doing nothing. I need to get work done. So I was sitting there and I was listening to him explain to him how Dylan likes his breakfast, when Dylan likes his breakfast, and what needs to be done to get Dylan his breakfast. I sat there and I was just like, so you do this on a normal basis. And it's like when I get on him, when I see things not quite right or he's laxing in some areas, I'm always correcting him. And I noticed yesterday, and I felt like an asshole. Yesterday, I noticed that shit, you have to do this on a day-to-day basis. I am a manager. I am a manager of people. I manage people. I always know the people who don't do this on a normal basis. You don't do this on a normal basis because people are asking you questions and you can't answer them. You understand? And then you have other people where in their area, you ask them a question, they can tell you anything. Like you could tell, they can tell you anything. They can tell you ins and outs about it. They could tell you what code was written and all that other stuff. And you look at them and you know that those people do that every day. They do it like they can do that shit with their eyes closed. They might have off days, but they can do it with their eyes closed. Watching and listening to Jaeden teach the the new aide how to do what he does with Dylan. And I realized I realized sitting there, I don't pay this kid enough. I wish I had more money. I don't pay this kid enough. I don't pay this kid enough to for what he does. Thank God I give him other stuff, but there's no way I pay this kid enough. And I was sitting there going, "Oh, you an asshole. You don't pay him enough. Now he's management. You don't pay him. You don't pay him enough." So I watched him explain. I didn't even watch him. I was sitting in the living room. They were in the kitchen. And I watched him explain to an adult. This is what I need you to understand. The person wasn't like a young kid. The person wasn't even like in his 40s. The person was an older gentleman, and he commanded the room. Like I like as his mother, I'm fucking like floored and impressed. He commanded the room and he commanded it respectfully. He commanded it clearly. And the way he moved through the system and the way he moved, yeah, he reminded me of me. And I was like, that's it. That's what we're talking about. And I was sitting there like, yo, I had to contain my excitement because I was just like, I don't want like to like disrupt the training energy. And the thing is, Jaeden shouldn't have to repeat himself. He was very clear with the directives. He was very clear with how things should be done. He gave him timing. He gave him the protocols. He gave him if Dylan brings his blue bowl to you, that means he wants a snack. And I sat there like, oh wow, this was professional level training. And I tailored to my son. As a mom, I was in not his mom, but the mom of Dylan. It made me impressed because you know my kid better than I do. He was the Ada was asking me questions, and I was like, "You need to ask Jaden. I don't handle that." I told him, I'm just the I'm the bank, the enforcer, and the covering. That's literally all I am right now. I'm trying to make sure the money's still flowing. I'm trying to I My job is to make sure the money's still flowing. My job is to make sure the money flows where it's supposed to flow. My job is to make sure shit gets paid and there's a roof over our head so we can do this shit. That's my job. And to spread love and sparkles. Spread love, sparkles, and design, and style. But yeah, so I was impressed. And the reason why I felt like that should definitely be one of the things I talk about today is because for a long time, for a long time, I was like, this kid don't do nothing. He doesn't know nothing. This, because I kept having to correct him, and I kept having to do this, and I kept having to do that, and I was just like, and I didn't realize, and I'm Keisha Grant, aka Kayla New York, and I stand before God and country and say I was wrong. And I go, oh, that hurt my heart. And I don't like admitting when I'm wrong, but I will always admit when I'm wrong, and I know I'm wrong. And I was completely wrong, Jaeden. I was completely wrong. I was found to be completely wrong. He has off days and off moments, but he does this on a day-to-day basis. I'm telling you, he does this in his fucking sleep, because it was too calculatedly explained for it to be a sometime-ish thing. It's not. I swore it was sometime-ish. I swore he did. I was like, this boy ain't doing nothing. This ain't nothing. But what I was seeing, plus I work a lot, so what I was seeing was a missed day, or a day he was just fucking tired, because I can imagine how tiring it is. And like once I realized what he actually does, I was like, I don't pay him enough. I don't pay him enough. I can't pay him a lot, but I don't pay him enough. And yeah, I was wrong. I was completely wrong. I was taking bad moments, or like days that kind of stretched into the next one, because he was grudge. And then I'm an asshole because last year, not last year, this year that's it we're in right now, he was in his last year of school. So I was like, we got to keep this up. And but at the same time, I knew that if I allowed him to lax for too long, it wouldn't get back on track. It's harder to get a car started that's been cold. So I'm not completely wrong, because I did have to stay on top of him. Like, hey, that is not the standard. My crew knows that there's a standard. There is a Kayla New York standard. There is a Keisha standard. There is a mom standard. And let me help you. All those standards are the same. All those standards are the same. It's it's excellence. And people are like, oh my God, why is your standard excellence? Because if you're looking to achieve excellence, you will end up somewhere in between, if not at excellence. Does that make sense? And excellence is not my excellence, it's your excellence. I know what level of excellence you can execute. Do you? And then your level of what you believe your excellence is should be higher than my excellence level for you, because I can only think as far as I can think for myself. But your own potential and what you have inside of you is limitless. So you can't take my expectation and my excellence and make it yours, because you're selling yourself short, right? Love you guys. Stay up, stay blessed. Says, and we out.